Hello, good morning and welcome back to yet another plastering video. We're going to be doing some hemp line plastering today in our future kitchen. It is the biggest room in the house and I think it's going to take me quite a while. Some walls are longer than others, but some walls have more detaily bits and doorway reveals and little pointed stone features, let's say. And so I don't want to rush myself. I want to make sure we do a good job. And as usual, we're going to take you along for the ride. So this is day one of some days of plastering the kitchen. This is the wall I'm going to start with. It is the simplest, the smallest, yeah, one of the smallest. But it's just got one lintel to deal with. There are no stone details. There is a doorway reveal, but that should be fine, hopefully. If I think of anything else along the way, I'll let you know, but otherwise I'm just going to get to work. Well, the good news is that one wall is done with its float coat and it's only just 1 o'clock. So in terms of timing, doing one of the small walls, plenty of time. The other good news is that it only used one mix and I've got a little bit left over actually. So if I need to do any kind of patch up work, then I can do that. The bad news is that these corners or the kind of the curves around the window reveal are very fiddly. And I don't really like the finish that I've been able to get so far. So we're not done. There is another step to go, which is to try and blend in some of the imperfections and remove some of the trowel marks using a sponge float, but I need to wait for it to go off a little bit first. So I think a lunch break and then some sponging action. So you know how sometimes good ideas come to you when you stop looking at a problem or walk away for a bit? Well, whilst I was having lunch, I remembered that I have something that might be able to help me with some of the issues I was having with the corners around the doorway here. And that is this, which is like a curved profile corner trowel. I've literally just taken it out of the packet and had a play with it. And I definitely need some more practice with it, but I'm wondering if it's going to help to get into some of these internal corners. Maybe it's going to be a combination of this and then the other trowel just to kind of work it this way a bit more. It's better, maybe? I wonder if going up makes a difference. Not really. I mean, it sort of seems better. I think more experimentation is required. This stuff is not easy, and of course I want it to look good because I'm going to spend quite a lot of time in the kitchen, but equally we're not going for straight, flat and perfect. We're going for rustic charm. But the challenge is what degree of rustic charm is acceptable. Okay, let me have a bit more of a play with this, and I'll chat to you in a bit. Yeah, I don't love that. Let's see if I can smooth it out with the sponge. Amazing what you can do with a bit of water and a sponge. Really blends it all together. Okay, I'm going to call that done for the day. That is the float coat, and it's been sponged off. It actually looks a lot better now than it did before lunchtime. The sponge float makes a huge difference. It really gets rid of any trowel marks, but even like low spots, high spots, kind of really just smooths it all out. Something that we might not have mentioned recently is that all of this back wall is going to have a countertop and a sink, and so the bottom third of it isn't going to get seen at all, and that's definitely where the roughest work is. I did not love the corner trowel, so I'm either going to need to practice with it a bit more or just abandon that idea for now. If anyone has any tips for how to do inside corners with a corner trowel, do let me know. Tomorrow we get to do it all over again on the same wall, but twice as much fun because I will be doing 2 coats of top coat, which is lime putty and fine sand, and then a final sponge off at the end. And then that wall will be done. Apart from the lime washing, but that comes much later. I'll see you tomorrow. Ooh, that's more promising. Well, there we go. That is the first of the 2 coats for today. I've just had lunch, and so it's time to do it all again. And then again. And then again. And then again. I guess 3 more times, because there's 3 more walls. You might be able to see that this wall behind me is a little bit irregular. There's a big lump where the consumer unit is, and that's okay because there's going to be a big walk-in pantry built into the corner of the room. So I am going to plaster it just so that we've got a proper finish, but I'm not going to worry too much about getting it really super smooth and level and all of those things. So I'm just going to get on with it and see if we can get this whole wall done today with the float coat. Well, that is the end of day 3 with a float coat on the longest wall, although not necessarily the most complicated wall, because the other long one has got a door in it, and that means more curvy sides. Not a huge amount to report today. I did 2 mixes, one in the morning and then one in the afternoon. It was about 2/3 to 1/3, and I think I learned something about the mixing, which is the first one that I did this morning. It was very weird to work with. It was lumpy, the hemp was kind of sticking out, it was dragging through the material as I was pushing it around, and I thought, this is too hempy or not limey enough, which is weird because it's the same ratio that I always use. But in the afternoon, I did the same thing again, same ratios, but I did them in a slightly different order, and I made the putty, and then I put the hemp in, gave that a really good mix, and then I put the sand in last. And that seems to have worked much better. It was much creamier. It was like the hemp got covered in lime, and then the sand just filled in the gaps. Whereas in the morning, I put the sand in first, and then the hemp afterwards. So I think the lime bonded to the sand, and then the hemp was just kind of trying to fit in the gaps, but of course it's much bigger pieces. Anyway, I don't know if that's right because I am just making this up as I go along, but it seems plausible. And so tomorrow, or the next time I do a float coat, I'm going to do hemp first and then sand and see if it is the same kind of thing. Anyway, enough rambling, on to tomorrow. The reason I didn't use this kind of mix initially to do the outlining is because it's much softer. It's not as sticky. It doesn't grip as well, and I think it's probably more prone to cracking. Fun. Let's do it again. Okay, I've got my two top coats on. I've sponged them off nicely. I've worked around my nooks and they are looking as good as they can be. It is 4:45 p.m. on a Friday night, and there is one final step in the process, which I also did on the first wall, and it is this rather large plastic float, and I'm going to use this to trowel off the marks from the sponge float, smooth everything out, and whilst it is going to be smoother than the current kind of rustic finish, it's not going to be as smooth as a steel trowel. So in the utility room I used a steel trowel and it was too smooth, it didn't lime wash very well. In the downstairs bathroom I just used the sponge and it lime washed quite well, but it was a bit of a rougher finish. So in this room I'm going to try this guy. I'm going to use a brush, but my brush is tiny, so let's see if this works any better. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be able to see what this is doing because it's quite fine and this camera doesn't focus very close up. So you just have to take my word for it that it's worth doing. But I don't even know if it is, to be honest. So that is the first of the two big walls done, which means I'm halfway through, which is very exciting indeed. Bad news is I'm only halfway through, and so I've got 2 more walls to do next week, and that means at least 1 more long day. But I think we'll speed through things for the rest of the proceedings because you've seen it all at least twice, if not many times before. Time for a rest over the weekend, and then back to it on Monday morning. So there we go, that is the end of day 5, I think. And it's not even the end of the day, it's only lunchtime, which is pretty exciting. It means I can do something else this afternoon whilst I wait for all this to dry before coming back tomorrow to do the top coats. Plastering tip for the day is I've been struggling to get my mix out of my bucket and onto the spot board many times. And I learned that if you spray the bucket down a little bit with just a bit of a misting of water, then it makes it much easier to do that. So that's something I will implement in my process moving forward. But that is it for today. Onwards to day 6. So there's just one more layer to go. 2 top coats, and then this room is done. As long as it passes final inspection. Come on. Well, it's taken a couple of weeks, but I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of this plastering thing. And I think a lot of it is about the angle of the trowel and how much material is either on it or on the wall. Unfortunately, where there's still all sorts of trowel marks, the sponge is pretty good at getting those out. So are my skills good enough for like a very fancy manor house or Regency building or something like that? Definitely not. But is it good enough for like a country cottage in the middle of rural Portugal? I think it's good enough. Well, I think we're going to call that done. And it's always such an anticlimax. So what do you think?
It's starting to look like a kitchen, no, a room. It looks like progress.
What do you think of my curves?
Pretty nice, huh? Done a really good job around this lintel.
Yeah, I think this is the only one that I've removed the tape and cleaned up properly, because the rest is still a bit of a work in progress.
And it's great, it's real progress and you can really see it. But then my brain goes, oh, but we've still got to do this and this and this and this, and it's just sometimes...
And that's why it's such an anticlimax.
It's such a great leap forward, but then it's like, yeah, we still got a lot to do. And end of the year is looming, and I really want to move in for the end of the year. But yeah, it looks excellent. It's really starting to look like a room. The nooks look excellent now that all the colours have blended together.
And what are your thoughts on leave them stone coloured or paint them white?
I want to defer that decision until the lintels, pole and beams are done. But I think I want to leave them. Which means
controversial.
Which means taking all the white off that we have put onto them.
Well, I did a demo with one and wire brushed a lot of that off.
That's okay.
And it looks better.
Where? Oh yeah, that looks much better.
So yeah, if you just take a small step forward, in the same shot we can see the one that has been cleaned up.
Yeah, that doesn't
this
look
looks
great.
horrible. And if you just move around a little bit, there we go.
Yeah,
you can see the one that looks better.
Much better. Yeah, it's going to take some patience to lime wash around this as well.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that on a good day.
So yes, there is still a little bit more work to do, a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of detailing, but as Kylie said, it is starting to feel like a real room that we might actually be able to use in the not too distant future. Whether we move in for Christmas or the end of the year or even the end of the winter is still somewhat up for debate. So I guess you'll just have to stick around and see what happens in future episodes. But that is it for now. We will see you in the next one. See you later. Bye.
Bye.